Hey YouTubers, 95 speed GTA here. Today I'm going to show you how to install an aftermarket car stereo into a 1995 Ford Taurus. First of all, when you pull out your factory radio, you're going to have these. And what these are your factory terminals that plug into your factory radio. I've seen this a couple of times where I had to go to a junkyard and get a pigtail and fix this myself. But a lot of times what people will do is they'll cut these terminals off, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not the best thing to do, because not a lot of people, but some people, when they take on jobs like this, they don't know what they're doing. So what they'll do is they'll take a sharp pair of scissors, razor blade, or a set of dikes, and they'll cut the entire harness in one shot. Now, if this is the speaker harness, that's okay because there's no power going to it. But if you have the power harness, and if you do that, you're going to pop a fuse and you can mess up something in your electrical system. So that's really not a good thing to do. And as far as having professional results and for it to look professional, that's also not a very good thing to do. The best thing to do, if you don't know a lot about installing car stereos, is to go to your local auto parts store. I know that Best Buy and a couple of other places, they sell these harness adapters for $2 to $5. If you really want to get a good deal, I would look for these things online. And if you have like a 1992 to 95 Ford Taurus or Mercury Sable or whatever car you have, you could just type in 1992 Ford Taurus car stereo adapter, and this is basically what it is. It comes with the adapter and wires that match your car stereo wiring, so hooking it up is really not an issue, and it makes it pretty easy. I'm going to get into how to wire this up in a second, and I'm going to take a break for a second. So the things you're going to need to install your new car stereo, well, your new DIN size car stereo, would be: one, find out whether or not you need an antenna harness adapter. And basically what that is it's an adapter that'll connect to this. It'll be probably about that long, and it'll have a smaller male end on it, so it'll fit into your new car stereo. It'll fit into your new car stereo opening. Sometimes I noticed this more with GM than Ford. The opening on your aftermarket car stereo will be smaller than this, making the need for an adapter. The second thing you're going to need, as I already discussed before, is the car harness adapter. This thing right here plugs right in to your existing terminals that belong to your car, so there's no cutting or splicing to your factory harness. The final thing you're going to need is you're going to need to pick out a good radio for what you want. This radio is a used radio that I took out of a junk car, and it's from 2006, which is not too old, but sometimes it may not have everything that somebody would need. Like, this is an AM, FM CD player. It has no auxiliary jack for your iPod, and you would have to get an external adapter for your iPod, which could be used in the jack right out here. So basically, as far as picking out a radio, all depends on your preference, what kind of style you like, and what you have. Do you have a system in your car? Are you thinking of putting a system in your car? That all can be determined on the place on where you're going to buy your stereo. This comes with your car stereo. It's actually a sleeve that's attached to your radio that you got to detach, and what you want to do is you put it in your opening, which is right here. It just slides right in, and there are little tabs. If you ever seen these before and you were wondering what they are for, these tabs right here, you push them down. You don't have to push every one of them down, but the ones that are closest to the plastic bezel support, you want to push them down, and that just makes the metal piece come a part of the surrounding, so it could hold the radio in. And after that you're going to want to wire the radio together. Now, this is not exactly the right way to wire your radio in, so there are 3 different ways you could do this. First off, like I said, there's 3 ways that you could go ahead and do this. Okay? This is screwed on with wire caps. Goodbye, mosquito. 2 mosquitoes, wow. This is not the way to do it, but you can get away with doing it. If you're doing this for a buddy, or you're doing this as a side job, this is not the way you want to do it, because you have to remember, your name is on this work, and if anything ever happens, where if you didn't screw this on too tight, and it was your first time doing it and becomes loose, well, you could mess up a car, and you don't want to do that. The reason why I did this way is because my car is a $200 car, and this radio will probably be taken out when this car dies. So I consider it a temporary thing. But if I'm doing a job for a customer, or if I'm doing it for a car that I know the radio is going to stay there and not leave, what I do is I cut back the wires, and I solder them together, and I shrink tube them. That's the most professional way to do it, and that's a sure way that they'll never ever come loose. Another way that most car audio installation centers wire up their radios is they put the 2 wires together, and they use caps similar to this, but they're not screw-on caps. What they are they're caps that go over it, and you can press them on. So it's pretty much a permanent cap that's going over the 2 wires. Do they ever fall out? If they're any car stereo that I've ever seen professionally done with the wire caps, they're in there good. They never came off. A couple of times I've seen some car stereo jobs where I pulled the radio out and a couple of caps fell off because I guess they didn't, compress them good enough. But you could do either the cap job, where you compress them on, or you could just do it the professional way, which is really good, is solder and shrink tube them. Alright, now since you got the car stereo in, and if you notice it's not fully going back and it's just springing back out, your wiring harness is in the way. So what you're going to want to do is take it back out just far enough to where you could see what's going on back there. See where all your room is. See, in this car, in the Taurus, all the room is to the left of this dash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my hand in there. Don't worry about getting shocked, but you could leave it just like that, or put something underneath so it doesn't fall out totally. And you just put your hand in there and just move the harness all the way to the left and just give it room. So you could take this 7 inches of radio and put it all back there with no problem. You'll know when your radio is secure in there when you hear a click, 1 or 2 clicks, and there are two little prongs on each side that grab onto the radio. If you ever want to take the radio out again, there's going to be a tool that you're going to need to use, and generally it'll come with your new car stereo. So here we go. Okay, so once she's in, give her another test. Make sure everything works.
Text the word ACON, A-K-O-N.
Then put on your bezel, which is on the outside here. Oops. There we go. press that on. I'll press it on in a minute. But other than that, that's really annoying. That's it. And that's how you put a DIN style car stereo. That's how you put a DIN style radio in your car.